Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while, but sorry, unfortunately, life gets in the way sometimes, and I had a new job or a new position. Anyway, back to recording another video. This one's going to be kind of a bit of an odd, like hodgepodge kind of setup. Uh, First thing we're going to talk about is I actually had a viewer request to discuss the art that I have behind me, which I'm happy to do. None of it is my own. I never claim credit for anybody else's work. So let's begin. This piece right there is a piece from a local artist I bought at an event called First Friday that we have here in Las Vegas. It's the first Friday of every month. They have a lot of art available. It's a few years old, but he had a piece called Humanitarians of the World, I believe. And he had various religious figures that he had accepting awards. And this is Horus Ra. Let's see if I can actually point there. Yes, I can. Right there. That's Horus Ra accepting a humanitarian award. I am Egyptian pagan, so the piece spoke to me, and so I went ahead and bought it. The one right there, that I won a contest for. A local artist devoted his time. It was my local comic shop, Alternate Reality. And honestly, it's a couple years old, so I don't remember what the contest was. I know it was going for a good cause, and so the artist donated he would do a custom piece for you. And so I wanted Han Solo shooting Greedo. So it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but Greedo is lying. You can kind of see it. He's a smear lying dead against the wall, and Han Solo's blasting off. So that was really cool. The next one up there is my sister bought it for me. She knows how much I love Firefly. It was this artist does like uh, famous ships in like scenery and stuff like that. And this was the Serenity on the beach. I like that. Next, directly behind me is a local artist known as her name is Ashley Popwell. She does really amazing stuff. In fact, I commissioned her to design the cover for my book, my first book. I'm re-releasing it, and that is, of course, from The Empire Strikes Back. Han and Leia kissing, quite a memorable scene. And speaking of my first book, that is a local artist, Killian Cubstead, and I commissioned him to do his take on the main character of my first book, Arcanus Lament, that is Steiger. I liked his style. His style is very comic book, and I like seeing his action take on Steiger summoning a fireball in his hands. And last but not least, this one was by a local artist named Danny Roberts. I don't know if he's still here anymore. I don't know if he's still a local artist. But I've honestly had that piece, I'm going to say about 27 years. 26 to 28 years. So um, there was a Forgotten Realms comic, and the main character was a paladin, and during the course of the comic he actually fell from grace and he lost his abilities, and then eventually he got them back. I always thought it was a really cool storyline because up until then, the only time I saw paladins represented, they were always goody two shoes. So it was kind of nice to see a paladin being human. It's something I've actually taken with me to this day. Anytime I see anybody wants to play a paladin in my game, I always remind them that, well, for one, in a lot of editions of D&D, you don't have to be lawful good. Your alignment has to match your deities or be close to it, but you don't actually have to be lawful good. And the other thing is, just because if your character does have to be lawful good, that doesn't mean that they are a saint. That's something that's really always bugged me. Those characters are dull as dishwater. You need to have your characters actually have some humanity, have some flaws and stuff like that. I actually remember reading once in Dragon Magazine, and that tells you how old I am. They talked about a lawful evil character who has made it his life goal to raise enough money to go back and buy out the village where he was raised and burn it to the ground and salt the earth so nothing ever grows there again. But because of how badly he was treated there when he was a child. but the character is also still noble. He treats fairly with everybody he meets. When he gives his word, he keeps it. He has a soft spot for children, things like that. It was a good reminder that good does not necessarily mean boring, and evil does not necessarily mean like a one-sided mustache twirling villain. So, viewer request. I hope that kind of, because they're always in the background, so hopefully now you have a little bit of more perspective on stuff like that, stuff like for me. The other thing I want to talk about is, as much as I love giving writing tips and stuff like that, I noticed that I was kind of running out of things to say. Now, I do have another video coming up that I'm going to be doing that's about setting as its own character, which is, it's a viable point in writing, and it is true. But I also want to know if you, as my viewers, actually would be interested in watching me review fantasy books that I read. Not my own, because that's just completely vain. But we're not talking about big names. I mean, George R. R. Martin, J.K. Rowling, Tolkien, Stephen King. These people do not need my little channel's help to get them readers. However, there are times where I'll come across a book and it's really interesting. Then I talk to people, friends, and I'm like, "Have you read this?" And they're like, "No, I never even heard about it." So I just want to know if you all would be interested in seeing my reviews. Try to keep it spoiler free. Fantasy books that I pick up, because a lot of times I'll pick up a book, if I cover seems interesting, I flip it over, I read the back, and it sounds interesting. I'm like, hey, that sounds interesting. I like to buy it, whether it's local or not, because I do like supporting. I mean, I'm a writer. I like supporting other writers. It's kind of important. We all need to kind of stick together and help each other, because it's not necessarily a contest. Um, Very few people are of the closed mind where they're like, I only read one author and I don't have room in my heart to fall in love with another author's work. So I would like to do that to help maybe other authors boost their own sales. Like I said, I don't think that necessarily I'm going to be, like giving them like a huge leap, but I do also like turning on people into other books that I've read that I enjoy. So please let me know in the comments below if that is something you would be interested in. I mean, obviously, I'm going to still do videos where I talk about geeky things and writing tips and stuff like that, but I would like to do something like that because I was kind of running out of ideas for the geeky stuff. I don't want to keep repeating myself over and over again. And the writing tips, you can only do so much before you're basically either covering what you've already talked about and just turning it around so it sounds new, or you're repeating the same old thing. So I don't want to do that. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked it, go ahead and please leave a like below. And like I said, leave comments. Please let me know if my review of other books would be something that you would be interested in seeing. Like I said, I would try to keep it spoiler free, but I also know that sometimes some people, they're reluctant to spend money on a book that they've never heard about. And even if the back sounds interesting, money's tight nowadays. I understand that. So maybe this way you might hear my review and go, that sounds really interesting, or go, you know what, I know I picked it up and I kind of looked at it, but your review you're describing doesn't really grab me. And again, I'm not trying to increase anybody's sales or draw sales away from anybody else, but I am trying to just help people be more informed. All right, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.